1992-93 Manchester United. In the first Premier League season, Manchester United won their first league title for 26 years, as Alex Ferguson took the Red Devils to a points total of 84 points, 10 clear of Aston Villa in second. Midway through the season they were in mid-table, but their season took a turn after Eric Cantona's shock move from Leeds United in November. He'd go on to be United's talisman as they won the first ever Premier League title, scoring 9 goals and getting 11 assists. Their top scorer was Mark Hughes with 15, whilst Ryan Giggs won the Young Player of the Season award. This league table is crazy to look at now as well, with Norwich, Blackburn and QPR all in the top 5. 1993-94 Manchester United. In the second Premier League season, Manchester United became the first team to win back-to-back English League titles since Liverpool in 1984, managing 92 points to beat Blackburn to the title. Again, Eric Cantona was United's star player, bagging 18 goals in the league and winning the PFA Player of the Season. United also won the FA Cup in this season, a 4-0 win in the final against Chelsea to secure their first ever double. 1994-95 Blackburn Rovers. In 1995, Kenny Dalglish's Blackburn toppled Ferguson's Manchester United to win their first league title for 81 years, having only been promoted back to the top division in 1992. But this was not some crazy underdog story. Their owner Jack Walker pumps big money into the club, with record-breaking transfers for Alan Shearer and Chris Sutton since their promotion. They had a long title battle with Manchester United across the season, and it looked like they might have fumbled on the final day as they lost 2-1 at Anfield. However, Manchester United dropped points at West Ham, meaning Blackburn Rovers were champions. Their star player was Alan Shearer, who managed an incredible 34 goals, while Sutton bagged 15. This was also the season Eric Cantona was banned for 8 months after fly-kicking a fan, which was crucial in the title race. 1995-96 Manchester United. Manchester United returned back to the pinnacle of English football in 1996. However, this time it was not Blackburn they were competing with, but Kevin Keegan's Newcastle, who were 12 points clear in January. But ultimately they collapsed, losing to West Ham, Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool and Blackburn in the run-in, before Keegan's famous rant away at Leeds.
I will love it if we beat them. Love it.
What a bozo! Meanwhile, United won 13 of their final 15 games to beat Newcastle to the title, also beating Liverpool in the FA Cup final with a late Cantona winner to secure another double. Oh, and side note, Man City got relegated this season. 1996-97 Manchester United. Once again, Manchester United won the Premier League in 1997. But this might be the worst ever Premier League winning team, managing just 75 points whilst losing 5-0 to Newcastle and 6-3 away at Southampton en route to the title. This was also the breakout season for David Beckham, who won the Young Player of the Year, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, scoring 18 goals in the league, whilst Cantona retired at the end of the season, despite being the top assister in the league at just 31 years old. 1997-98 Arsenal. In 1998, the mighty Arsenal won their first league title for 7 years in Arsene Wenger's first full season at the club. Manchester United led for most of the season, having a 12-point lead at the end of February. However, a 10-game winning run saw Arsenal leapfrog Manchester United, sealing the league title with a 4-0 win over Everton, including this iconic Tony Adams goal. This was a truly phantasmagorical Arsenal team, with the likes of Dennis Bergkamp, Mark Overmars, Patrick Vieira, Nicolas Anelka on fire. And they also won the double with a 2-0 win at Wembley over Newcastle. Hey yo, you absolute bozo! Why haven't you liked the video yet? Make sure to absolutely bukkake that like button and subscribe whilst you're at it. Thank you. 1998-99 Manchester United. After a trophyless season, Manchester United decided they were going to win every trophy, winning the treble and their 5th league title in 7 seasons. This was an iconic team, containing Keane, York, Cole and Beckham, all at the peak of their powers. However, if it wasn't for this stupid Arsenal team, they wouldn't have won a treble. With 2 games to go, Arsenal were leading the title race, just to lose away to Leeds, allowing United to win the Premier League on the final day. But even worse, in the FA Cup semi-final, Arsenal had the chance to knock United out with a last-minute penalty, just for Bergkamp to flip and miss it, before Giggs scored a famous winner in extra time. They went on to beat Newcastle in the final before scoring 2 last-minute goals in the Champions League final to round off the treble. But I can't lie, United fans, that's a lot of draws, isn't it? Also, how did Arsenal only concede 17 goals and not win the league? 1999-2000 Manchester United. Once again, Manchester United won the Premier League, this time with a very impressive 91 points total, 18 points ahead of second place Arsenal. That Dwight York, Andy Cole duo up front was scary, man. No one could come near them. And this was probably the first season with no sort of title race, so I'm not sure what else to add here. 2001 Manchester United. In 2001, Manchester United became the first team to win 3 consecutive league titles since Liverpool in 1984, as Ferguson became the first manager to win 3 consecutive titles with the same club. In this season, Teddy Sheringham stepped up for United, scoring 15 goals in just 23 starts to win the PFA Player of the Year award. And they finished 10 points ahead of second place Arsenal, including a scarring 6-1 win over the Gunners. What kind of diabolical result is that, man? It really looked like Manchester United were untouchable. Oh, and Man City were relegated again. 2001-02 Arsenal. In 2002, we finally had another title race, with a fight for the title wide open at the start of the year. Liverpool were 11 points clear of Man United in December, but by January it was looking like a 5-horse race between Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Leeds and Newcastle. However, by March it was a head-to-head between Arsenal and Manchester United. And after 11 wins in a row, all Arsenal needed was a draw away at Old Trafford in May to seal the title. But they went one better, with a will-torn winner bringing the title back to North London. This Arsenal team had an incredible mix of experience and youthful quality, with the likes of Thierry Henry, Robert Pires, Dennis Bergkamp, Patrick Vieira and Ashley Cole. Also before the season, they pulled off the extraordinary free transfer of Sol Campbell from North London rivals Tottenham, who went on to win the double as Arsenal also beat Chelsea in the FA Cup final. 2002-03, Manchester United. In the following season, it looked like Arsenal would retain the Premier League title, going 8 points clear in March. However, 3 draws in 4 games followed by a loss at home to relegation batting Leeds United meant Arsenal bottled the title to Manchester United. After finishing outside the top 2 for the first time in the Premier League in the previous season, Manchester United splashed out a British record £29 million on Rio Ferdinand, whilst Ruud van Nistelrooy turned up with 25 goals in the league and 44 across all competitions to restore the title to Manchester. 2003-04, Arsenal. After the heartbreak of last season, Arsenal only made one major signing, acquiring Jens Lehmann to replace David Seaman, and no one could have predicted what was to come next. Wenger's Arsenal managed the greatest achievement in English football history, completing the entire season without losing a game. Just a season earlier, Wenger was laughed at for suggesting he could go an entire season unbeaten, but Arsenal finished the 2003-04 Premier League season with 26 wins, 12 draws and 0 losses. Truly a marvellous achievement if I say so myself. Thierry Henry got 30 goals in the league, including an iconic hat-trick to turn the game around against Liverpool. And how could I forget them winning the title away at their North London rivals Tottenham? Obviously people talk about how many draws this team got, but I don't think people factor in the mental drainage of a 38-game season. You're gonna have to sacrifice a few draws in order to not lose any games. Why do you think no one else has done it? However, it almost never happened, if not for this iconic miss by Van Nistelrooy in September. 2004-05, Chelsea. After 9 years of Arsenal and Manchester United dominance, finally a new team won the Premier League. Chelsea had been taken over by Roman Abramovich in 2003 and spent a redonkulous amount of money in his first 2 seasons to build a great team. He brought in Jose Mourinho as manager, who had just won the Champions League with Porto, and signed Petr Cech, Ricardo Carvalho, Ian Robben and Didier Drogba, to add to a squad of Frank Lampard, John Terry and Claude Makélélé. They went on to smash the points record, amassing 95 points and conceding just 15 goals en route to Chelsea's first league title in 50 years. It has to be one of the greatest teams in Premier League history, and certainly the best defence English football has seen. But they bought all their success, so does it even count? 2005-06, Chelsea. Chelsea became only the second team to retain the Premier League title as Mourinho's men stormed to another league win, this time managing 91 points and sealing the title with a big 3-0 win over Manchester United at Stamford Bridge in May. For the second season in a row, Lampard was their top scorer, with 16 goals in the league, and they also recorded the best ever start to a season, winning their opening 9 games in a row. As truly repulsing as it is to say, this Chelsea team was absolutely fantabulous. 2006-07, Manchester United. After 3 years without a title, the Premier League finally returned to Manchester, as United, inspired by Cristiano Ronaldo, beat Chelsea to the league. It was the first time United won the Premier League after rebuilding from the treble era, as Neville, Giggs and Scholes were the only remaining starting players. This was the season when the likes of Edvard, Ronaldo, Vidic and Wayne Rooney began to truly write their names into the Manchester United history books, and the beginning of Manchester United's second dynasty in the Premier League era. 2007-08, Manchester United. United retained the Premier League title in 2008 after a hectic title race, which Arsenal led until Eduardo's injury in February, when the club proceeded to completely collapse with 1 win in 8. Subsequently, Chelsea and Manchester United leapfrogged them in a title race that lasted to the final day, where United's win over Wigan saw them win the league again. They also beat Chelsea in the Champions League final on penalties after a slip by John Terry. And this was a season where Ronaldo cemented himself as the best player in the world, matching the record of 31 goals in a 38-game season in the Premier League en route to winning the Ballon d'Or. 2008-09, Manchester United. For the second time, Manchester United managed to win 3 Premier League titles in a row. However, this was the first and only time they came up in a title race against their big rivals Liverpool, who found themselves top of the league at New Year. But they ended up drawing 7 games in 10 to allow United to overtake them with their fearsome front 4 of Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez and Berbatov. Ultimately, Liverpool's 4-1 win at Old Trafford wasn't enough, as United went on to win their 18th league title, going level with Liverpool. 2009-10, Chelsea. The 09-10 Premier League season saw another crazy title race between Chelsea and Manchester United, as Chelsea came out on top in Carlo Ancelotti's first season. Going into April, Manchester United were top of the league as they hosted challengers Chelsea at Old Trafford. However, a controversial Drogba goal sealed a 2-1 win for Chelsea. I say controversial, it was literally offside. This Chelsea team was one of the best attacking teams in Premier League history, scoring a record-breaking 103 goals, scoring 5 or more goals in 6 different games, including a final day 8-0 win over Wigan to seal the title. Drogba got 29 29 goals of his own, his best ever Premier League return, and also scored the winner in the FA Cup final over Portsmouth to score Chelsea's first ever double. 2010-11, Manchester United. The Premier League title returned to Manchester in 2011 as Manchester United became the most successful team in England, finally locking Liverpool off their perch. They began the season with 24 games unbeaten, and after that the title was never in doubt. This was Berbatov's best season for United, scoring 20 goals in the league, including a hat-trick against Liverpool, whilst Javier Hernandez made an impact with just 13 goals and 15 starts. They managed 18 home wins in this season, drawing 1 and losing none. However, they only won 5 away games, showing how much of a fortress Old Trafford was, and how dead the rest of the league was, because how did they win the league title with only 80 points? 2011-12, Manchester City. In 2012, we finally got a new Premier League winner. The title remained in Manchester, but this time it was United's noisy neighbours who won it. Their new Abu Dhabi owners had been pumping in money since 2008, with the club finishing in 10th, 5th and 3rd since the takeover. They had now built a squad of Vincent Kompany, Sergio Aguero, David Silva and Yaya Toure, and began to establish themselves as a top side in English football. City took a 5-point lead over Man United in October, after a humiliating 6-1 win at Old Trafford, and went the first 14 games unbeaten. However, by April, United had taken an 8-point lead with 6 games to go, and it looked like United would win the title once again. But after losing to Wigan and botting a lead at home to Everton, Man City had the chance to go top again as the two sides faced each other at the Etihad. A company header was the decider between them as the title went down to the final day. Rooney's goal was enough for the 3 points for Manchester United at Sunderland, while City were bottling it 2-1 down in stoppage time at home to QPR. Dzeko pulled one back from a corner, and then the most iconic goal in English football history happened as Aguero won the Premier League for City with the last kick of the season, meaning Manchester City had their first league title since 1968, becoming the only team to ever win the Premier League on goal difference. But they literally bought the league, so does it even really count? 2012-13, Manchester United. After the heartbreak of the last season, Manchester United sought to make things right by signing the PFA Player of the Season Robin van Persie from Arsenal. And if you expect me, as an Arsenal fan, to proceed without bias, then you, my friend, are stupid. Because this man is a certified snake. In fact, he's a Manchester United went on to win their 20th league title, with Robin van Persie scoring 26 goals in the league with the number 20 on his back. I'm actually surprised I managed to say that without vomiting. It was also Ferguson's last season before retiring, so I guess that was a nice way to go out, and also greatly appreciated by everyone else, because look where they are now without him. I'm so glad I don't have to talk about them winning the league again in this video. 2013-14, Manchester City. The 2013-14 season saw another crazy title race. Arsenal were actually top of the league until February, but everyone remembers this season for Liverpool bottling it. After beating Man City in April, they went 5 points clear at the top of the league, just for Gerrard to slip against Chelsea before bottling a 3-0 lead away to Palace. Meanwhile, Man City won their final 5 games to overtake Liverpool and win the league on the final day. It was much of the same squad that won in 2012, with the crucial addition of Fernandinho, whilst Yaya Toure had the season of his life, scoring 20 goals from midfield. 2014-15, Chelsea. Chelsea had also been in the title race in the previous season with Mourinho back at the wheel, doing the double over Liverpool and Man City, with most people appreciating that they were probably the best team in the league but lacked a reliable goalscorer. So in the summer, Mourinho brought in Diego Costa and Cesc Fabregas, taking Chelsea to a new level. After going top at the end of August, they remained there until the end of the season, losing just 3 games all year. However, after a cagey 5-3 loss away at Tottenham, Mourinho began to make sure their lead at the top didn't slip by parking the bus every week after going 1-0 up. Chelsea ended up gaining a reputation for being boring, but they won the league, so I'm sure their fans didn't care. Eden Hazard was also incredible in this season, with 14 goals and 10 assists in the league, winning the Player of the Season award. 2015-16, Leicester City. This may be the greatest achievement in sports history. Leicester City were bottom of the Premier League in mid-April 2015, but won 7 of their last 9 games to finish 14th in a relegation escape that was miraculous in itself. However, after a scandal in the summer, their manager Nigel Pearson was sacked and replaced by Claudio Ranieri, who had just flopped at Greece. And their biggest signings were a little-known Japanese striker and a completely unknown midfielder from France. As a result, they were one of the favourites to go down. But what came next shocked football forever. Some random striker who only got 5 goals last season scored in 11 games in a row, putting Leicester top of the league. Meanwhile, a winger who couldn't even start for Algeria went on to become the best player in the Premier League, whilst an unknown midfielder from France became the best midfielder in the league. For most of the season, people were excited by Leicester, but everyone expected them to drop off, until Jamie Vardy did this against Liverpool, and then a few days later Riyad Mahrez did this away at Man City, and then everyone believed that Leicester could actually do it, especially considering they were in a title race with flippin' Tottenham, who bottled a 2-goal lead away to Chelsea, meaning that Leicester City were Premier League champions. Truly incredible, man. 2016-17, Chelsea. The next season saw a return to normality. Chelsea completely fell off in the last season, falling from 1st to 10th as Jose Mourinho was sacked. Antonio Conte came in, however he didn't have the best of starts, with a 3-0 loss away to Arsenal leaving Chelsea in 10th by October. What followed was one of the most revolutionary changes in Premier League history, as Conte switched to a 3 at the back, with Chelsea winning their next 13 games taking them to top of the league. Once again, Eden Hazard was integral with 16 goals in the league, whilst Costa also got 20. However, the signing of N'Golo Kante was possibly the most important factor, as once again he had an incredible season, winning the Player of the Year award and his second Premier League title in 2 seasons. But once again, I'm grateful that I no longer have to speak about Chelsea winning the Premier League, because this is the last time they won it. Oh, and they lost the FA Cup final to Arsenal, so they weren't able to complete the double. 2017-18, Manchester City. After 3 years without a Premier League title, Man City were desperate to get back to the summit of English football. They hired Pep Guardiola the year before, and he went trophyless in his first season, but the City board stuck by him and backed him with the signings of Bernardo Silva, Ederson and Kyle Walker. And this might be the scariest team I've ever seen in the Premier League. They won 19 of their first 20 games. I remember when we played them, I was just hoping to concede less than 5 goals. That midfield of Fernandinho, De Bruyne and David Silva was genuinely just unstoppable. Sterling and Sane on the wings were a cheat code, and Aguero got 21 goals in 25 games. They broke the record for the most goals in a season with 106, and broke the points record, getting 100 points on the final day through a last-minute Gabriel Jesus winner. But I'm not going to forget to mention the fact they bottled a 2-0 lead at home to Man United when they could have won the league against their City rivals, and when Liverpool absolutely battered them in the Champions League. But this was probably the best team I've ever seen in the Premier League if I'm honest. 2018-19, Manchester City. City followed up a 100-point season with a 98-point season. I don't think I'll ever see anything like that ever again. It's ridiculous. But I think what's even crazier is Liverpool got the 3rd most points ever in a Premier League season and still didn't win it. This has to be the best title race the Premier League has ever seen. Every week these guys were just pushing each other to new heights. When City lost to Palace and Leicester in back-to-back weeks, I thought it was over. But then they went on to win 19 of their last 20 games to win the league. And that 2-1 game between Man City and Liverpool at the Etihad might just be the greatest game in Premier League history in terms of quality. These guys had Aguero, Sterling, Sane, Mahrez and Gabriel Jesus up front, all in their primes being supplied by De Bruyne, David Silva and Bernardo Silva. I don't think there's even enough words in the English language to describe the sheer quality in this team. This team went on to be the first ever to win the domestic treble, winning the Community Shield as well. But somehow they lost to Tottenham in the Champions League. I will never understand that. 2019-20, Liverpool. In 2020, Liverpool finally won their first ever Premier League title, and their first league title for 30 years. And this team was simply incredible. They fell just short the year before 97 points, but this year went on to get 99 points, having also won the Champions League the season before as well. After coming into a broken club in 2015, Jurgen Klopp built Liverpool up from 8th into the best team in the world. They won 26 of their first 27 games, by far the best record by any team in English football history. And they went 44 games unbeaten across the 2 seasons before a 3-0 loss at Watford. And I must say, as an Arsenal fan, I enjoyed this game very much. The front 3 they had was frightening. Mane or Salah were guaranteed to score every game, and Firmino was the perfect link between them. Alisson, Van Dijk, Trent and Robertson at the back are all arguably the best player in Premier League history in their positions as well. This team honestly had it all. It could dig deep when it needed to, or just wipe the floor with teams. Also, people love to discredit this team for winning it during COVID, but they were literally 22 points clear before lockdown with 9 games to go. They won the title in game 31, making them the earliest team to ever win the league, but because of lockdown they sealed the title in June, making them also the latest team to ever win the league. If you can get your head around that one. 2020-21, Manchester City. This season was potentially both the most interesting and most boring title race of all time. 8 different teams spent time at the top of the table, but the title was pretty much wrapped up by Man City in February. In November, Man City found themselves in 13th, but then went on a 15-match winning run to take themselves 15 points clear at the top by the start of March. And they did all this without a recognised striker, as İlkay Gündogan stepped up with 13 goals in the league. They also brought in Ruben Diaz in the summer, who went on to be arguably their standout player, winning the Premier League Player of the Season awards. This was also Aguero's final season at the club, scoring twice in his final game at the Etihad against Everton.
We cannot replace him. We cannot.
2021-22, Manchester City. In the 21-22 season, we had another exciting title race between Man City and Liverpool. By January, City had a 13-point lead, but Liverpool had 2 games in hand, and went on to win 10 games in a row, meaning that when City drew away to West Ham in the penultimate game, it was down to a single point once again. To beat Liverpool to the league, City had to beat Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa, and it looked like the Liverpool fairy tale was coming to reality when Coutinho put Villa 2-0 up. However, 3 goals in 5 minutes by Rodri and a Gundogan brace saw City break Liverpool hearts once again, and once more City won the league without an established striker, as Kevin De Bruyne had his best goal scoring season, getting 15 goals in the league. 2022-23, Manchester City. In 2023, Man City went on to become only the second team to win 3 consecutive Premier League titles and only the second English team to win a treble. Much of this was down to the groundbreaking signing of Erling Haaland from Dortmund, who went on to smash the goal-scoring record of 36 goals in 35 appearances. However, City spent much of the season in second, only taking top spot in May after being 8 points off the top in February. I'm not quite sure what happened to the team that was top of the league for 248 days that season, but I'm sure we don't have to talk about it. However, 12 wins in a row helped Man City to overcome the deficit and win yet another league title. A big reason for this was the tactical switch by Pep Guardiola to move Stones into midfield from centre-back where he flourished, arguably being the best player in the Champions League final against Inter. But this City team scored 3 past Bayern, 4 past Real Madrid, Liverpool and Arsenal, and 6 past Manchester United. I personally think their 2018 and 2019 teams were better, but man, the trophies speak for themselves. 2023-24, Manchester City. To be honest, I'm getting pretty fed up of Man City now. Yes, they won 4 Premier League titles in a row, the first team to ever do it. And yes, they beat Arsenal to the title again. Once more, Man City didn't start the season the best, and were actually 4th at Christmas. However, they won 19 of their last 23 games with just 4 draws to win the league on the final day by 2 points ahead of Arsenal. Haaland once again was incredible, getting 27 goals. But their standout players were Foden and Rodri. Foden won Premier League Player of the Season, getting 19 goals, including big goals against Manchester United, Aston Villa and West Ham on the final day, whilst Rodri went on to win the Ballon d'Or after scoring 8 goals from defensive midfield. I'm just so happy that they fell off, because I was getting bored of these robots, man. 2024-25, Liverpool. And that takes us up to this season, where Liverpool have finally ended the Man City dominance, winning their second Premier League title, but more importantly, equaling Manchester United's 20 titles, whilst they're down in 15th, making it even sweeter. Players such as Van Dijk, McAllister and Gravenberch have of course had greatly impressive seasons. However, this season will always be remembered as the Mo Salah season. He's fallen off a little bit at the end of the season, but there was genuinely a point where it felt like he was scoring and assisting in every single game. It was crazy. I'm not sure I've ever seen a player as inevitable as Salah during that run. Obviously, this Liverpool team isn't to the same level as their 2019 and 2020 teams, but it's still been great nonetheless, and an incredible first season for Arne Slot, who has matched Jurgen Klopp's Premier League titles after a single season. But please, next season, can Arsenal just flippin' stop finishing second and actually win the league title? Please! Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, share and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos coming soon. And next year, there's better be flippin' Arsenal, man. I'm getting fed up of waiting. And make sure to follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. In a bit, G.